Hey guys, welcome to Staying In with Bake Rate. This is our 5th week, I think. Every week during our quarantine and these crazy times, we are trying to bring a little happy to your week by having a fabulous panel with some authors we love. This week is Happily Ever Historical, and we are meeting with some fantastic authors, Elizabeth Bright, Janna MacGregor, and Kerrigan Byrne. I'm Taylor Sorensen. I'm part of Team Bake Rate, and I'm over marketing and author outreach. So we are going to go ahead and get this kicked off. If you guys want to go ahead and just introduce yourselves and pitch your latest book, we will start with Janna.
Hi, everyone. I'm Janna MacGregor. I write for St. Martin Press. That wasn't Max. I don't know what.
That was mine.
A little broken, this, that, and the other thing, the Tower of Terror. Anyway, my latest book is Wild Wild Rake, and this came out the end of February, and it's the last in the Caversham Marissa series, book number 6. So I'm very happy to be here today. Thank you for having us.
Yes. Elizabeth?
Okay, we're going to me. I'm Elizabeth Bright. I'm the author of the Wicked Secrets series with Entangled, and my latest book is The Duke's Wicked Wife. I'm not very good with cameras, and it came out about a month ago.
All the pretty purple.
Yeah, I love that cover. It's probably my favorite so far.
Kerrigan?
I am Kerrigan Byrne, and I haven't had a book come out for a minute, but I have one coming up on June 2nd. It's a dark and stormy night. The 7th in my Victorian Rebel series, and I don't have anything great to hold up. I should have thought of that. No, but I love that whole series. It's so good. Thank you. Thank you. And this is my favorite cover too, so I'm kind of like, right.
So hot.
Thank you.
So I love it. All right, so we are going to dive right in, you guys. We are going to start off with a little bit of an icebreaker where each of these lovely ladies is going to build their own mini romance story. So we are going to start with whoever wants to go first. We can start with Kerrigan and work our way back up if you want. Y'all are going to choose your character. I've got 3 options for you. It can be a blue stocking wallflower, a wealthy widow, or a Spitfire spinster.
I am a sucker for Spitfire spinsters myself.
Yes. You write them so well too.
Thank you. Those wealthy widows are fun too, because
they are.
Oh
yeah.
Okay, so
Elizabeth?
Spitfire spinster, tell me what do we go in a round robin?
We're going to go in a round robin, and you'll each choose your next step in your adventure.
Okay. I'll choose the blue stocking then.
Ooh, very nice. Janna?
I'll take the wealthy widow.
It's perfect. Avalon. It's right in there, right?
That's right.
All right. Next, we're going to choose y'all's romantic interests. Would you rather pick a brooding duke with a tragic past, a rakish earl with money problems, or a wealthy as sin gaming hell owner?
Oh, this is tough. What?
Earl, the broke Earl.
The broke Earl. Okay. I like it.
Thank you. Am I going? Oh, the gaming hell owner? I'll do that.
Very nice. Who doesn't love a sexy gaming hell owner?
No, although I feel like now I'm building Dreaming of You on accident. So.
But it's okay. Can you go wrong with Derek Craven?
No.
Kerrigan?
I get the Duke.
Brooding Duke with a tragic past.
Yeah, I love those.
Why does that sound familiar?
I was specifically not going to choose that one because I was like, everybody's going to say that.
No shame. All right. So we have to figure out where your story is going to take place. Of course, these are all historicals, but historical romance is filled with tons of elegant venues, and your hero and heroine are working towards that perfect meet cute. Where do you meet? Is it a glittering ballroom where they dance their one allowed waltz, sip watered down punch, and then sneak out to the gardens for a clandestine kiss? Or are we at a house party where their friendly rivalry amid the games is followed by a midnight rendezvous? Or are you traveling abroad? Who says only the men should be allowed to travel? Your daring heroine is venturing past her English borders and out into the wide world.
Who's going first? I will do the one with the ball where we end up in the garden. And I'm doing it for my friend Kim Lorraine because every time I call her up and say, what am I doing next? I'm stuck on a book. She says, get her tits out in the garden. And I say, okay, that's good advice.
That is very good advice.
I'll take the house party.
Love a house party.
So many sneaky corners to hide in.
Yes. Janna?
And I'll take the traveling widow.
Ooh, this is getting to be very feisty. All right, so your heroine has a secret. What is it, and why did she choose to keep it?
Say that over again. She's got a secret, and why did she?
Your heroine has a secret, and why did she choose to keep it a secret?
Oh,
It's always fun for me to do, and I do this too often. I promise the next one, no one's going to have a secret identity. That's always fun for me, where it's like usually they're pretending to be somebody else because someone is after them, like a evil step father. How detailed do we have to be?
Hopefully not too detailed.
I like it.
I'll do a spin-off of one that I've already written and say she has an evil twin sister.
Ooh. Are they identical?
Yes.
Oh, I like it. Janna?
I think mine's going to be that she never was married. And so she's done this just so she can keep her own dowry. And so that's why she can travel all over the place.
Oh, I kind of love her already.
I love her so much. I demand you write this book.
Yes.
Yes, I need this now. Oh no, your hero has found out the secret. How does he react?
Like, huh.
Dead silence, like, oh no.
Gosh.
Yeah, now we're getting into the plot stuff, and
It's like, wait, conflict.
Depends on where we are in the book, I guess.
I know.
Does he go slay the dragon? Like, oh, you're running from somebody, I will go put him down for you. Which could mean murder or not murder, depending on what you feel like you want to read. But toward the end of the book, yeah, it would be like, oh, this is why you're keeping your secret. I wish you would have told me sooner so I could go end that person, bad, whoever's after you.
I'm here for all the dragon slaying.
Like, what would he do? I don't know. I feel like she's going to solve her own problem on this one.
So what happens with our evil twin?
Oh, let's see. It depends on what this evil twin has done. So hopefully our hero has not slept with the wrong person. That would suck. So, let me think for a minute. Oh, I just don't know. I'm gonna have to. This is why I write so slowly. Maybe he sets her up with his evil identical twin. we do that?
Very Shakespearean
Double
right
wedding. Double wedding. Love it.
now. Love it.
Janna, what happens with our
Oh,
no widow?
yeah, I think I'm going to go with what Nikita has said down here. You know, he's already ravished the widow. He finds out, you know.
Maybe that's how he finds out.
Because he needs to marry her because she's got all this money, but obviously she didn't want to be married if she lied about it. So is he going to be a good guy or a bad guy? I don't know.
Good question.
Hopefully, since he's the hero, he's going to be a good guy. But
Is she a secret virgin too? If she's never been married?
And that could be how he figures it out.
Yeah.
right? He's ravishing the widow, and
Like,
whoops.
oh, shoot.
Well, there is no going back on this.
Ooh, and then he does have to marry her, huh?
And now it's a marriage of convenience. Janna, this is the tropiest. I love it.
I'm loving this.
We're all like abandoning our own storylines.
I know, exactly. We need to go read this. Janna, name your character. Get on this right now.
I know,
right? I'm like, we need this story now. This is the next.
Yeah, you know what? And he'll keep her secret because he is a good guy. And she really feels bad. So, you know, she's probably going to give him, she'll pay him off. Say, you know, because if you keep my secret, I'll give you some of my money. And he's like, no. And she's going to be like, maybe, you know, this is the first guy that really just wants me for me. I don't know. Oh, it's horrible. But maybe her twin sister shows up and then actually, you know, tries to seduce him so that she can marry him. And then, you know, we'll get one of Kerrigan's heroes that kills everybody.
Those are good heroes of yours.
Call him up.
You know that the bad guy is going to really get it at the end. I mean, there's just no, I mean, it's black and white. The guy's going down big time, or the gal's going down big time. The villain is.
Female villains, those are fun.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So when ladies go bad, they go all the way bad. Yeah.
And we should see more evil villains that are females, I think. I think those it's interesting
I
reading.
would love that.
I know.
All right. So what do you guys think? Did each couple find their happily ever after or no?
Always.
Have to. Oh yeah.
That's what we do. There's no
It's
whole
not to, right?
deed that we
Exactly.
can find way out.
Exactly. And if you did, you just rewrite it.
Yeah.
All right. So we are going to jump on to some other questions. What would your characters be doing during quarantine? I want to start with Janna and go down.
I don't think they'd ever get out of the bedroom, to be honest.
I was going to say.
You know, they just have the servants bring the food and put it like right outside the door. Or they'd call out to a delivery, a little boy, you know, out on the street. Let's say that they didn't have servants, and they would, you know, throw him a quarter, or I mean, a couple of shillings, and say, "Go get the food, pick up the paper. If you bring it up here, we'll give you 2 more shillings." So that's
I like it.
And they would never get out of their nightgowns or their banyans. I mean, they would be in pajamas all the time. Of course, they weren't in pajamas, but you know what I mean.
Yeah. I like it.
A dirty deed, and then of course they wouldn't have anything on.
It's a good point.
Clothes are optional.
Yeah.
Quarantine life.
Yeah.
Elizabeth?
Well, of course, other than staying in bed all the time, I feel like Wessex would be losing his mind because he's such an extrovert and he loves people and he loves scheming. So this would be his worst nightmare, basically.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
No scheming, no people.
Yeah. What's he going to do? He gets bored very easily.
Kerrigan, what would Morley be up to?
Well, if we're talking Morley, he would not be home. He would be trying to maintain order and peace in the city and make sure everybody was safe and alive and doing what they should be doing. And he'd be like out there on the front lines trying to get things under control and defeat something that's undefeatable. And it would be very frustrating and hard on his heart. But I think that's what he'd be doing. And it would probably be awful because then he and Prudence couldn't be together because she's just had a baby. She has her secret baby. So that's really sad. I don't like this.
This is so sad. Okay. Okay, we lost Janna.
Uh-oh.
She should be back in just a second. It looked like she froze. Let's see. All right. So we'll go the other way, start with Kerrigan and work our way back. If you could go back in time to when you were writing your first book, what is one piece of advice you would give yourself? Janna's back.
Yay! Oh, I missed you. Yeah. Now she's over here.
Yeah,
here.
she's over.
She's over.
Yeah.
So the question was, if you could go back in time to when you were writing your first book, what is one piece of advice you would give yourself?
Who goes? Do you go first?
Somebody pick. I can't point.
Well, I'll go. I would make myself a series Bible from the very beginning, because when I wrote my first book, I had no idea that it was going to be a 4-book series. And now I had to keep going back and be like, what color was his eyes? And because it's just a group of friends and they keep continuing on. And I'm like, my God, I don't know.
So how many times have you wound up reading your books post-publication to keep up with it?
Too many. I do not like going back to read what I've done. So.
Oh, goodness.
That's a good one. Yeah, that's a really good one. I probably would second that. But I would also say not to put the entire kitchen sink into one book so that I can spread out a little bit further. Yeah, spread the pain. Like very, I maybe 1 or 2 books. I think it was I got when I got my second contract, my editor was sort of like, hey, so let's keep going on this, dark bad boy thing. And I'm like, what else can I do to these guys? I did it all. Like I put everything into, I should have spread it a little bit.
Yeah. Janna?
I think now this is really, telling tales on myself. But I wish I would have changed my sex scenes a little bit. From the standpoint, I think that they were a little bit too much purple prose. And if I had to do it all over again, I would have toned that down. But, it is what it is. It's out there. It's not going to change. So.
And people still like it. So, I mean, just keep going.
Yeah, love it.
No.
So we're going back to.
I just expound on that a little bit. But I also think that's part of being a writer. You just put it out there. Whatever happens, happens. And I mean, that's why, we write our stories, obviously, for readers, but we also write them for ourselves and we write them for the characters because they're coming out. And whatever it is, I think that I know that I have a tendency to be too hard on myself, and you just kind of have to let it go and go on to the next one. So there you have it.
I definitely agree with that.
100%.
You can always write.
Sometimes it doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be good enough. Like, okay, it's good enough.
And that's hard.
I think you grow. Yeah, I think you grow with every book. And so
you do. I think that's why
you're like, oh, I see flaws.
That's why I hate going back to my old books. I'm like, oh, I could fix that now.
I'll be right back. I'm so sorry.
All right. So our next question is going back to us being the tropiest. Romance is all about the tropes. What is your favorite trope to write and why? We'll start with Elizabeth again.
Oh, okay. Definitely, I think enemies to lovers, because it almost writes itself. There's so much spark. There's so much chemistry. There's so much to yell about. So that's definitely one of my favorites. Yeah.
Kerrigan?
I would say because I'm a lazy person, I love Marriage of Convenience because it's so easy to get them into forced proximity and into bed. And so that's to write usually. And Second Chances. Second Chances is also great because they have a history you can play with, you know? So, between those two.
Yeah, I love forced marriage. Because you can play so many different things on that. You can do the enemies to lovers, or I think, was it Barry Blaylock that did the one where it was what was the series where they married, oh my gosh, I know it. Anyway, they didn't even have a relationship, the very first or second scene they were having sex. After they got married, and from there, they had to learn how to become friends and fall in love. What was the name of that?
Was it the Tessa Dare one that came out?
No.
The first one of the.
This was Mary Blaylock. It's not the Survivors. What? I'll think of it. It's the famous one with all the siblings that come together. With Woolworth.
Oh.
I don't think I've read that one, but I want to now.
Oh, yeah.
That's a good series.
What's the name?
The Bedouins. Yes. Is that? Yeah. It's a great series. It's one of my favorite heroines of all time. So.
Wasn't the name of that book The Arrangement?
I thought The Arrangement was in the Survivor series.
Okay, then I'm not talking about the Survivor series. It was in the Bedouins. Yeah. Okay. Oh well, whatever. I'll think of it.
All right. So historical romance obviously requires a lot of research. What's the most interesting thing you have wound up unintentionally researching?
I would say for this book that's coming out in September, All Scott and Bothered, I had to do a lot of research on the legalities of prostitution in Britain. And I found out stuff like I just assumed that prostitution was illegal, but it never has been. Like,
really?
Yeah, being a sex worker is not technically illegal in Britain, but being a pimp or a bod is. Just stuff, and it's had different laws and lewdness laws, and I mean it was a whole thing, but it was really fun to kind of read through since the 1600s all the way down to now, essentially, but mostly in the Victorian era, just how many people worked in that capacity. And I spent way too long just because I was really fascinated about it. So
that is interesting.
Yeah, my heroine is not a prostitute, but it's just
all that research.
If
It'll
she
come
was,
in handy
no
someday.
shame, but, right.
You're ready to write that book, though. Who wants to go next?
Well, I'll jump in. I think probably one of the things that I learned that I thought was really fascinating, and it was in researching law, that of course being gay was illegal, sodomy was, illegal. But if there were women that fell in love with one another and had a relationship, everybody just ignored it. It was just, women being close friends. And so they were never considered as having anything as breaking the law. They just allowed women, it was perfectly fine for women to sleep together. They just considered them as being close friends.
Interesting.
Very interesting.
I know. Who would have thought?
I know. Maybe because laws are written by men and men think that that's hot usually.
Yeah, oh my God.
They're
That's
like, let's
probably
not
it.
outlaw that.
Ew.
That's the worst. Yeah.
It's a woman. I mean, it's women. They don't count.
Mhm.
They're just friends.
They're just friends.
Oh man. Of course. Yeah.
Goodness.
So when I was doing research for The Duke's Wicked Wife, I just Googled what happened in 1817. That's generally where I start. If I already know what the year is, I look for newspaper articles and things like that were happening at the same time. So I found out that I mean, I already knew that because history class and law classes and whatnot, that there was the Habeas Corpus Suspension Act in 1817. But what I didn't know is that Lord Sidmouth, who was the Home Secretary at the time, he just thought everyone was going to be a traitor. So this is why he was putting this forward and doing that. But he personally interviewed every single person they detained and threw in jail and decided whether or not they were guilty and let most of them go. So my book takes place against that backdrop. And I was just like, why would he do that? So I just invented a reason. But it was very interesting to see some of the stories of his paranoia and why he thought this was happening. And
It's very interesting.
That's awesome.
All right. Now, if you were a historical lady, what time period would you live in and why?
so many.
Oh, many.
All the choices, no wrong answers. Janna, do you want to go first?
Sure. Let's see. I think probably maybe the Georgian period, just from the standpoint that, you know, the sexual mores were much freer and women were pretty much allowed to do whatever they wanted. Of course, you know, you'd have to be married in order to be able to do that. But I like the shoes during that period.
The shoes were really pretty.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
They were
Good shoes.
So, and you could have men in your dressing room when you got dressed, and you know, for
times.
Janna, you are scandalous.
I learned it in school. Okay, that's it.
Okay, you're like, I'm done.
I'm done.
I'm having a really hard time between deciding between like ancient Roman times, because I just feel like they were so advanced, and the architecture and everything they wore and what they were doing. Probably like at the height of the Roman era, like Hadrian's Wall kind of situation, you know, and everybody was like throwing bacchanalian orgies and doing crazy stuff, you know, all that fun stuff. Yeah. Like, and everything was, you know, women could have property, and you know, like everything was just big and bright, and everyone was pretty wealthy. And I don't know, I've seen some ruins, and I'd love to see what it looked like. And then also the Victorian era, later Victorian era, just because I love the technology of it. I love kind of the rise of the Industrial Revolution and all of that, you know. I love the fashion. I love that women's rights kind of leapt forward a little bit at that point, you know, and it was also sort of a sexy time where there was a lot of like poets and writers and fun things happening. And so it's hard to decide.
I think you do a really great job too of weaving all those themes into your stories. You know,
Definitely.
I really do. You know, the trains and just the ease of travel. You know, you do it.
Yes. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, you could go across the Atlantic in 6 days, which is not bad for old timey times. You know?
A lot better than 6 weeks.
Yeah, totally. So
yeah. Elizabeth?
Probably the Regency, but very specifically when Lord Byron and all those poets were out doing crazy things. I love the very outlandish stories of women during that time, like Lady Claire, Byron's paramour for a little bit. She was insane. She was like, she did some very interesting things, made some interesting choices of what to send in the mail, and I feel like I could get on board with that. I would like to be one of the more crazy people in an otherwise normal time. That, yeah.
Here for it.
Yeah.
All right. And I always like to ask, what beverage would you pair with your book?
Oh, that's a good question.
Scotch for mine always. I just got a bad review saying that everybody that you write is such an alcoholic and they're always drinking all of this scotch and whiskey. And I was like, I mean, kind of. Yeah. So, every time they're having a conversation, they're like, let's reach for the whiskey. So it'd have to be whiskey. So.
I like those reviews anyway. It's the ones where they're like, oh, I hate these characters. Where I'm like, I don't want to talk to you.
Like, somebody needs to talk to them all about their alcohol problems. And I was like, yeah, probably. They're very stressed. It's a very drinky time for them.
But so is a quarantine, so maybe people could appreciate it now.
Yeah, totally.
You know what, though? I mean, there was a reason why they drank so much alcohol back then.
The water wasn't safe, was it?
The water was contaminated for the most part, so you had to drink.
Yeah. Let's play a little game, Scotch or typhus, I don't know.
I don't think I want to play that game.
Doesn't end well.
Oh, too funny.
Okay, Scotch for me, because I mean, I'm always writing about Scotch. Of course, it was taxed out the wazoo, and eventually during the Regency, it was mostly illegal. But if you had enough money and you knew, if you had connections, you could bring it into your house. But since Kerrigan already picked that, then I will say champagne.
Oh, yeah, champagne.
Bubbles.
Well, The Duke's Wicked Wife takes place in the fall, so the leaves are changing. It's very cozy time, and it's kind of a cozy read in some ways. I mean, it's friends to lovers, so not really high stakes. And so I would say a hot toddy, something very warm and gets you a little buzzed, but yeah.
Nice and cozy.
Yeah.
I thought you were about to go with a pumpkin spice latte for a second. You're like, it's fall. It's cozy.
So no.
I thought she was going to go like mulled cider, maybe.
Ooh, I would drink that. That's good.
Yeah.
Let's just get all our drinks and have a reading party.
Yeah.
All right. So my next question is going to be for Elizabeth. Elizabeth, you blend humor and heart so seamlessly in The Duke's Wicked Wife. What do you find to be the key to keeping the story lighthearted while still packing a really strong emotional punch?
Well, I have to say that I kind of have a very dark sense of humor anyway, so I tend to see, I can't help but write lightheartedly. I've tried to write dark, so even when things are going terrible, they're kind of laughing about it, and it's how I view the world. I think out of all my characters, Wessex is probably the most like me, so this one was definitely interesting to write in that regard, that he cares very much, but the world can hurt, so he has to laugh at it. And that's probably true of all my characters, I think.
I love that.
I love that too.
Janna. So Wild Wild Rake features a fake rake virgin hero and a widowed heroine, which is totally different than what you normally read. What inspired you to kind of turn that historical norm on its head and write the virgin hero with a more experienced heroine?
Oh, I got an email from a fan. The very first book that the hero of Wild Wild Break appeared in was the fourth book. And he was the best friend sidekick of the hero in that one. And he was always making these comments about, how his brother was trying to get him to marry an heiress, and he wanted to kiss this woman, or he wanted to do that. And he happens to be a vicar, of course. And so I got an email from a fan saying, "Oh, I really enjoyed The Good, the Bad, and the Duke, but that vicar, he's just a lecher, just a lecher." No one never wants to see him again. And of course, I already knew that he was going to be the sixth, the hero in the sixth book. And I was like, Eureka, there it is. He's lying about having all this experience and stuff. And that's where I came up with it. So
I like it.
And asked, help me.
That turned to good, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I love a naughty vicar story, though. That's awesome.
True story.
Yeah.
And I was like, because I thought he was hysterical. I loved him. As soon as he was on the page, I was like, oh, this guy's great. I just hated him.
Oh, yes.
Can't please everyone, but I loved it. So Kerrigan, Detective Morley, he's the hero of Dark and Stormy Night. He is also an absolute fan favorite character from your Victorian Rebels series. He's been with us the whole way through. Was it easier or more difficult to write a story for such a beloved character, and why?
Oh, it was way more difficult, because when I started trying to conceptualize what I would do for him, or who I would, the heroine for him, like I went to, I have a couple of people that I brainstorm with, and every single person had very strong opinions about it and very differing opinions about it. So I would kind of be like, uh-oh, like, I don't know, like, I wonder what, like, how I'm going to be able to please people, so I picked none of them because there was really just one scene I wanted to write, and one situation I wanted to put him into specifically. So I had to write a woman who would do what she did, kind of thing. But it was, it was difficult.
I need to know what this is.
I know.
So he's kind of my Victorian Batman. So he's a Victorian Batmaning, around the town, being all vigilante, etc. And so he finds himself in this garden where he's kind of following some leads on a murder. And this isn't any spoilers, this happens in the first chapter, but like he kind of realizes that he has stumbled upon I want to say a brothel, but for dudes in the outside, out of doors, so like in the garden. And so she's there kind of looking for somebody to pay, because she's about to get married to somebody she doesn't want to. And she's like, I'm going to have one night for me. And I'm going to pay the hottest guy here to just ravish me, And so he's kind of there lurking in the shadows. And she's like, hi, how much?
You are the hottest guy here.
Yeah, exactly. And so, and then he has a lot of decisions to make after that about how long his pants stay on. So that's
how long we all hope. I love that. So Elizabeth, out of all the books in your Wicked Secrets series, who was your favorite couple to write about, and why?
Ooh, that's like choosing your favorite kid. I really like the first one in Twice as Wicked, Nathaniel and Alice. They have a lot of tension, and because it's enemies to lovers from her perspective, but from his, it's love at first sight. So that was fun. But I've been writing Wessex's story. Wessex is too many S's in that, since the very beginning. So I've known that I wanted to do this. And so, I guess I'd have to pick Wessex and Eliza.
Was the build-up as much suspense for you as it was your readers, probably?
Over 3 other books. So, yes, people send me emails saying, when will you write their story? I was like, I'm trying. It was very stressful.
So you had a lot of expectations too.
Yeah, that made it pretty hard, but I do love them, so it was good.
Good. So Janna, Lady Avalon Warwick, she's our heroine in Wild Wild Rake. She was a bit of a villainess in The Rogue Most Wanted. Now she's actually working, helping women in need, doing a lot of good things. Paul, who was super swoon-worthy in The Good, the Bad, and the Duke, he was a villain previously, and you redeemed him as well. What is the most satisfying and the most difficult parts of redeeming a villain?
I think, and I did not, I don't know, I thought about this question, and it's really a tough one. But let me just take a stab at it. I think the most satisfying thing is that for me, when I redeem somebody, I've got to have a character that sees the good in that particular person. Because from them, a lot of people come into these stories and they hate these people already, and they're very upfront. I don't like this person. I'll never fall in love with them. But if you can show it through another character's eyes why they are redeemable, I think if you can write that story, it's very satisfying, and it feels like an accomplishment. The hardest part is just that, is, as Kerrigan said, trying to meet your reader's expectations for what a character is going to be, but sometimes that's not what it doesn't actually make it to the paper, because as we all experience with our characters, sometimes they go off on a different tangent when we're writing them. I mean, I truly am a huge plotter. I mean, I've got this board over here and I'm writing all the time. And I'll get into like a third or a half of the story and we're going someplace else. And I just, you just have to let those characters go. So I think that in a roundabout way, what I'm trying to say is you've got to have somebody that believes in that character. Of course, the author believes in the character because they wouldn't be writing it. But you got to have, I think, for me, I've got to have another character in that story that believes in that person. So that's it. I'm sticking with it.
That's great. I'm going to keep that in mind. Yeah.
I love that. It's not so much about it's about that other perspective. I love that. Kerrigan, so you have written so many different styles of historicals: Highlanders, Victorian, even like a historical murder mystery, Jack the Ripper series. What about the past inspires you and keeps you writing more and more stories and coming back to it?
Because I'm not in a place in my career where I could write a lot of paranormals, I think history is the best place to build a world, because you get to play with different technology styles and different mechanics and different laws and that kind of thing. I really like playing with what people are allowed to and not allowed to do, and that changes so much depending on depending on what century you're in or time period. I mean, I just think about like how different things were in the 90s, 2000, 90s, 2000s, as opposed to like 1960. I mean, so much changes in 50 years. And I really like to look at that and put people, kind of bend people, like you can't be much of a barbarian in the Regency times. So if you want to, if you want this guy to be like really barbaric, you have to put him somewhere where he could be a hero instead of some, crazy person. So that's what I like to, that's why I like to, play across. Like warlords used to be nobility, and then you have to, you go forward and then it's like we have to be gentlemen or nobility now kind of thing. So it's just interesting. That's fun for me.
All the different worlds within kind of a set confine.
Yeah, and the different women, and the different food, and the different dancing.
Yes,
but sex seems to be the same. Different shoes.
Different shoes.
Yeah. Different weapons. Different weapons are really fun. Different kind of money and travel. All of that. It's just really fun to kind of immerse yourself into like the world was so hard for people in the before times. So it's fun to play. It's fun to put them in our, put them against that. So
I love that. All right. Well, that is it for the questions I have for you guys today. Thank you guys all so much for joining us. I've had a blast. I hope y'all have too.
Yeah.
And don't forget to check out each of these ladies' books. They are all linked in this post for pre-order or purchase. Go ahead and give them a follow or like and keep up with what they have coming out. I'm going to be posting shortly some giveaways too, so make sure to find them and follow them in all the places across social media. And you guys have a good day.
Thank you, Taylor. So nice to meet you, Elizabeth.